Alright, so a comparison here in this video between the Xiaomi Mi Mix with its bezel-less design, 6.4-inch screen, and then the Mi Note 2 with its dual curved display. That's 5.7 inches. So in this video, I don't want to get too deep into benchmarks, but I will run Antutu, speed up that video, but that will be towards the end. I first just wanted to cover the basics like the screen, the design of them, and how they are in general, and the cameras. So to start out, the obvious, we've got almost no bezels on the Mi Mix, but the size of it, even though it's 6.4 inches, isn't really that much larger than the 5.7 inch Mi Note. And I'll show you what I mean, because look, you can put that on top there, and look at that. The difference, not really a lot in there. They are both basically the same exact height, just the Mix is a little bit wider there. So obviously we've got a hardware buttons here on the Note 2, and we have the software ones with the Mi Mix because they didn't have room, which was a shame. I would have still liked them in this gap here to at least have those hardware buttons. And this is a physical click front-facing fingerprint reader as the home button there. So the specs of them, they're the same. Snapdragon 821, 2.3 gigahertz maximum turbo, and they both have these models 4 gigabytes or 6 gigabyte options. And both of these ones I have here though, they have 4 gigabytes. So this one has 64 gigabytes of internal storage. This one 128 gigabytes is the minimum. And both of them of course do not have micro SD card support, which is a real shame, but that's the way Xiaomi wants to go with their flagships. So front facing cameras, 8 megapixel. Down the bottom we have a 5 megapixel one, a design choice that they had to make, a bit of a sacrifice. Now in terms of call quality between the two of these, I would rate this one as better because it has a traditional earpiece. This doesn't. You can see there's no earpiece there because where it would be was whereas the screen is at the moment. So the sound resonates through the ceramics, through the build in the Mi Mix. And you hear, I would say, more of a flat sounding earpiece. There is a bit of not distortion, like vibration to it, because it is actually vibrating through the display, transmitting the sound through it. So call quality, definitely better on this one. Both the microphones in the calls sound exactly the same. Now, both of them also have the same loudspeaker at the bottom. I do believe it is the same piece of hardware they're using because they sound identical to me. Both of them have Type-C ports, Qualcomm Quick Charge 3, very, very quick and snappy, very fast to charge. So no problems with that. Now, performance of the ROM. I would rate the Mi Note 2 being a little bit better. I think because of the software buttons and because maybe it's something relatively new, it's not... Okay, it's fast, it's smooth, but I have noticed that sometimes there's stutters, for example, launching games or when you go out of games. So if I launch Mortal Kombat here, you'll see that I'm trying to get out of it sometimes that there's a bit of a difference. And also when it comes to, of course, things like media consumption, that, okay, there it's not, but sometimes it plays up for me. I have noticed sometimes the occasional stutter, this one seems smoother. So media consumption, when you're looking at a 16:9 movie, you get the borders either side on the Mi Mix if you minimize the on-screen buttons, because you can set that option. Like I can just swipe down now and it disappears. So if you go into, for example, like YouTube or something like that, and then you will see left and right borders. And if you have the on-screen buttons enabled, then you'll just have the border just along here. So maybe for movies and things like that, maybe the experience is a little bit better. Well, not really, because without the bezels, this thing just looks really good. Do you see the difference? Right there when it comes to the bezels. So camera wise, the Mi Mix has a very disappointing camera. It's only 16 megapixels f2.0 aperture, and this one here is a 22 megapixel camera on the rear. Now the problem is there's no stabilization on the Mi Mix's camera, so it's very shaky, the video, but we do get electronic image stabilization and a gyro with the Note 2, which really helps out. It takes a much better still as well. And you can check out a video sample of this one in the playlist for the Mi Mix. Very disappointing quality. So if you wanted the best camera in these two mobiles, if you're thinking about buying one of these, definitely without a doubt, you would go for the Note 2 for the best camera. For the best screen, the design, and the experience, you'd go for the Mi Mix. So they're very different mobiles. Now, just to also mention the screen quality between both of them. I noticed that when you look, this is me being quite picky, when you look at the screen on the Note 2 close up, you will notice that it's just not as sharp as the IPS panel, even though this is 6.4 inches stretched out, and this is 5.7, which should technically look sharper because it's going to have a better PPI. It doesn't because of the technology difference. So this IPS and OLED. Now the OLED has better blacks, darker blacks, but I've noticed like little jagged edges around the fonts. Now it's not really a deal breaker, but it's something to bear in mind. Now a lot of people wouldn't even see this or notice this probably, but because I look at a lot of mobile screens and I'm quite fussy about my mobiles having a very nice screen in them, I notice that kind of thing there. Also, more of a cool white panel. Colors tend to shift in it on the viewing angle. So if I shift that there, you can see how that's just gone to more of a cool white. And now if I move this one, you'll see that that doesn't happen. So a big difference there in the screens. So the performance test that I will do, one thing I almost forgot about, 3.5mm headphone audio quality out of both of them sounds very good, and I honestly can't distinguish any difference between them. They sound identical to me. Really good quality. The only thing is if you're driving like a large headset, they probably both lack a tiny bit of volume. If they had just a little bit of volume, that would be a lot better. So the speed test that I will do, the quick little test, I'm just going to run Antutu here at the exact same time. And don't worry, you won't have to sit through the whole benchmark. I will speed this up. All right, so here we go. Run this at the same time. Both of them have had the memory cleared. These are on a fresh boot. Just to make sure though, I will just clear everything and do that one more time. So free RAM, 2.6, 2.4. For some reason, you always have a little bit more RAMs taken up on the Mi Mix. Okay, here we go. Get this to load, and then I'll speed the video up. Okay, so the Note 2 finished first, but the scores are almost identical there. Not much of a difference in that at all. And you can also see a difference in the displays. That this is more of a warm white and this looks like a cool white. Now you can of course tweak that in the settings, but I think it's just the way that the screens are, that at this angle, the OLED panel is looking a little more bluish in tint. Because if I bring that up, you'll see now it's become white, more white looking. Okay, so that's the comparison there. Now, if I was going to be picking one of these myself, personally, I would go for the Mi Mix, despite the relatively average poor camera it has. Now, I do take a lot of photos, but the stills, they're okay, sometimes not the best, but you can get at least a passable photo out of it. But it's the design that really gets me. It's a fresh new design. The display is just so immersive, being 6.4 inches large, but about the size of a 5.7 inch mobile, makes gaming, web browsing, and what I mostly do on a mobile just so much more enjoyable. And I also wanted to mention that both of these are quite slippery. The Mi Mix is the most slippery because it doesn't have metal around it. The Note 2 does. This one has ceramic, and I find that, yeah, if my hands are cold and they're dry, then it's very, very easy to drop this. Luckily, it does come with a leather case, which is going to come in handy. Thank you so much for watching this comparison. Also, just like to point out that you can actually win one of these Note 2s. I will have a giveaway of that, so you can enter in. Make sure you get your entries in to win. And I also have the full review of this model up too if you're interested, and I'm working towards the Mi Mix review. So keep an eye on the playlists, and I hope to catch you back in the channel soon.